Today we are going to be going over how to quilt my latest quilt pattern, which is the layer cake log cabin quilt pattern. If you would like to make this quilt, I will have a link for that video down below in the description available for you all. Now today we're going to discuss how I plan on long arm quilting this quilt, and because it's kind of easy and simple, I will also go over a few other ideas. Now the quilt size that I'm illustrating today is actually the throw size. This is the size I will actually be long arm quilting as well. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom in, and if you saw the last video, the fabrics are very girly, kind of like cheery, happy. So it gives me more of a feminine vibe. So I kind of wanted the long arm quilting to be a little bit more feminine, girly, just kind of like bubbly, so to speak. And I also wanted to kind of quilt this semi quickly. I didn't want to spend all day working on, or multiple days actually, working on this quilt. Also, I am currently taking some long arm classes right now, and we are going to be using a new technique that I learned because I really loved it and I actually wanted to practice it right away, which is why I made this very quick quilt. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive on in. Now for this first block right here, I'm actually going to travel about halfway, and then I'm going to look at this outer pink stripe area, and I'm going to visually, and let's go ahead and get a different color. We'll make it red. I'm going to visually see that there's this line here, and I'm going to divide that in half, and then there's a line here from this square. Now I'm not drawing these lines, this is just a visual reference, and I'm dividing that into 4 sections. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the top. So we're going to pretend like this line is here, there's another line, and then we're going to divide that in half, which would make a line right there. Now, once again, visual reference, because my goal is to try and evenly space my curves out. So I'm going to curve in and then go back out, and right when I curve out, I'm going to make my way around and try and curve in the next section and curve. Now when I get to the corner, I'm going to curve in, come back out, and make my way all the way around, because then we're going to come down, curve in, come out, curve in, out, curve in, and back out. And then I'm going to roughly go to the halfway mark, because that way it's the same on both sides of the end. Now remember, the red is not there, so let's go ahead and erase everything so you can see it without the invisible line markings, basically. So I'm going to try and curve once again, and then I'm using this top line of the square as a reference, and then I'm going to curve again, use the top of the new color, and then I know in here I need to go ahead and make my way around and back out, and we want to hit around this area, come out, then I want to go halfway roughly, curve, come out, curve, come out. Now I did this technique because this is something that I personally am struggling with. I want to keep it even and as symmetric as possible by eyeing it. I would rather not have to mark up my quilt because that does take more time. So I am practicing on trying to visually eyeball my distance and kind of judge it that way. So next, because I do like stitching everything in the ditch and where I end up, I'm actually going to travel up, then travel back down, so I know that section will be stitched in the ditch. And then I'm going to frame that off. So I'm going to stitch in the ditch, that section, and because I like everything framed off, we're going to go back to that start and come back. And then we're going to keep it simple now. I'm going to go a 1/4 inch in, and we're going to do a 1/4 inch framing. Now once again, this is not stitch in the ditch, so I will go back up and then I'll make my way all the way back down. Then I'll come up 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to do the 1/4 inch first on the other side. And then I'm going to come back and then stitch in the ditch all around. Then I'm going to make my way to this center point. And this is a new technique that I just learned and I would like to keep practicing it. And that is you're going to come up, swirl, come out, swirl, come back down. Now we're not done yet. Once we hit that point, we're going to come up and then we're going to cross over and swerve to the other side till we hit the point up here. Then we're going to swerve in, cross over, and then come back down. And it's kind of like a little flourish design, and you actually could go a lot bigger. So as an example of a bigger version, you can come up, do a big curve, down, come up, cross over to the point, cross over to the point. And then that way it fills majority of that shape or that square in. Now, because I end up in this point, I'm just going to travel along the edge. Then I'm going to come up halfway, and then I'm going to start that process again. Now, you can use this line right here, here, here as your illustration marks for spacing. And then when I work on this side, you can use this line and that line for spacing. So I'm going to go ahead and erase those. And we are traveling up halfway again. We're going to do a curve, bounce out, curve, bounce out, curve, bounce out to the corner. And we're going to swoop all the way around, curve in, back out, curve in, back out, curve in, back out, about halfway, and then stitch in the ditch. We're going to back travel a little bit. And now I'm realizing we won't need to because once I end up here, I am going to travel down. So I'm just going to go ahead 1/4 inch in, come in, then I'm going to go up, then I'm going to go across 1/4 inch from the next stitch in the ditch. Then we will stitch in the ditch, and then we'll make our way to that point. And this part might not be that easy to see, but we're going to do that same flourish technique. Come out, bounce, whoops, and bounce in. And then once we end up at that top point, then we will travel down, so we don't need to re-stitch in the ditch like I normally was. And then we'll come across halfway and then start all over, etc. And then for the next second line, what you can do is start here, stitch in the ditch from the top, then make your way down, come across halfway, and then start here. So you're going to do your swirls. I am trying to go real fast just so we can get on to new designs. And bounce out, and then you'll stitch in the ditch here, 1/4 inch, down, 1/4 inch, stitch in the ditch, come down to the point, do the flourish, and because we end up down here, you'll then stitch in the ditch across, and then you'll come up halfway and then start here. And that way, all around your squares, you will be stitched in the ditch all the way around. I do say that word a lot. But anyways, let's go ahead and think of a few more ideas. Now, well, actually, let's scroll down. Never mind. We'll start over here. So let's start on this one. What you could do is stitch in the ditch, of course, all around. You can come up a 1/4 inch and then stitch that all the way around. And then go across, do a 1/4 inch again. Because these are 2-inch wide strips. And then go ahead and stitch in the ditch if you prefer to do that now. And you can do the little swirls where you go around, swirls. Or you can do like ribbon candy, like so, all the way around to the edge. And on the edge, you can just create one large ribbon candy and then work your way around. So you can go. Or you can do the same thing roughly, but let's go ahead and frame the next frame out. Do a 1/4 inch. You can do the swirl one, where you swirl and make S shapes all around. And then when you get to the point, you can go across. Whoops. And keep it going all the way around. Just like so. Then for your next border, you can keep it simple like we did before to break it up, because since this would be quilted semi-densely, I like to do dense, not dense, dense, kind of like every other one. I like to try and keep it like 50-50 roughly with dense and not dense. So you could easily just do like a line directly in the middle and then come out and stitch in the ditch. Or you can frame it again like what we did over here in the yellow. Or if you want, you can do like a zigzag, which using our halfway marks, you can go down, you can go up, and then maybe go across, and then go down, and then up, like so. And for instance, there was an imaginary line right there, right here, here, and here. Now, of course, you can mark your quilt up if it makes it easier. Now, because you have this line, you could go back if you wanted to quilt it to death and like fill in the outer areas, and this will help create a secondary shape, sort of like another frame. That would look really cute because then this area will pop out, and then you can go ahead and stitch in the ditch to pack that down and separate it. I think that would look cool. Another one you can do is in this corner, maybe do like a swirl, come out, and then do petals around like so. And then for this one, you can do some more swirls where you bounce in, out, try and fill it all the way in with wide swirls. And because you end up over here, you come back, but then swoop in and you make it a little bit tighter. And this is something that I learned from Carly Porter's Longarm Quilting classes, and I will be doing kind of like a should you take her classes and sneak peek. Yes, 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 you should. If you are a longarm quilter, whenever one becomes available, you should. I highly recommend it. But there's another section. Let's see if we can go ahead and come up with a few more ideas. let's go ahead and go down here just so you can visually see it better. Once again, stitch in the ditch. Now what you can do is if you want to quilt it to death, so to speak, but you're not that confident yet or you don't want to do too much, you can actually reverse it. I know I was doing denser quilting on the outer areas and then light quilting and then dense again. You can reverse it. So you can either go light on the first one and then maybe do pebbles. And then once you get to the end, you could come over here and then maybe do a zigzag like so. Go kind of wide and big. That way, since you're going to end up here, you can come back and cross over a little bit. These kind of don't really go together now that I'm seeing it, but this is why it's also great to draw your ideas down so you can see like, that maybe will not work together. Or it's not what I had envisioned. Let's go ahead and frame another one off. Now, similar to what we did here at the top with this swirl up here, let me go ahead and erase that. What you can do is create diamonds. So pretend there's like an invisible line again, and you can create secondary shapes and maybe go, or you'll start in this corner, go up, down, up, down, up, down. Now you can skip that corner and go up, down, up, down, or you can do like a reverse triangle. So you still end up in this corner point and then you can continue your way down. And you can leave it like so, or you can maybe fill in the triangles. Or the opposite way, whichever you prefer, with zigzag back and forths. Or if that's too dense, you can just do another secondary triangle point, like so. And then for the inner, even this would probably be a little dense for me. So you can do something simple, like so, and then come back down, come up, down, kind of create another triangle shape. And then of course we are going to stitch in the ditch. And for this one, you can actually fill in maybe the center area. And it doesn't have to be zigzags up and down. You could fill it in with pebbles, whichever you prefer. And then let's come over here to the point. And this section is very geometric. And I know I said let's come to the point, but now I'm thinking of something else. And I'm actually going to come to the center of this square. And we're going to quilt a square in a square block. And for those of you who don't know what a square in a square quilt block is, basically from this point we're going to come in and you're going to quilt a square. So that way there's a square and then inside another square. That's where the name comes from. And you could fill in the exterior sections all the way around and leave that center poofy. And if you wanted to, because it is a 5-inch square, so it is a little large, you can swirl in, swirl out, hit the edges and come back in. Leave it like that. Or, let's erase those. You can fill in this area. Back and forth, come out, and then start all over. And I think this would actually look really cute on modern fabrics or like solid color fabrics. I think that would look really lovely. I'm really liking this one, especially if you fill these in here. I think that would look really cool all the way around. It's kind of giving me like a bohemian Aztec style of quilting. And that's what I like to do for you all because I know you're not going to make this exact same quilt in the exact same fabric. So, for instance, this size may not look that great for your quilt, depending what fabrics you use, which is why I am going to do my best to try and give you quite a bit more options. So, anyways, I did give you a few ideas. Here is a good zoom in of all of them, just so you can see. And if you could please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell because the next video coming out will be me actually longarm quilting this corner section on this quilt. And you'll see me try and quilt this new design right here that I'm circling because it will be my very first time. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I will see you next time.